Well, guys, once again, good evening and welcome to our session. Well, today I sent you an email just with some general information. Actually, I always send like the same email when we're about to finish the cycle, just to remind you a couple of things. In this case, well, to let you know that the usual, we have our speaking part on Thursday, on the second part of our session, to remind you how the groups are organized. And then I also send you like the parameters of the exam, just to clarify, especially for the new students, that these images are just like examples, like for you to give you an idea of how long the questions are. And let's say the amount of information that you get to create the conversation. These are not, absolutely not, the same cases or the same questions that I will be using with this cycle. Of course, I always use the same pictures just to make that sure. Well, anyway, we will share this information the day after tomorrow. The idea is for you to have a look at it and to let me know, of course, if you have any type of question. Probably the most important aspect to keep in mind would be that you have to turn your camera on. I think that would be like the thing to let the new students know, but in general aspects, it's pretty much the same. But anyway, I would like to know if you have any questions about the email that I sent.
No, teacher, no questions.
Okay, very good. Okay, let me see the chat. Let me turn this off so you don't see me like suffering reading. Okay. Yeah, just like very general parameters. Of course, be as punctual as possible. Probably one last thing, well, I will let you know that the day after tomorrow. I will have to be like really, really, really on time. I know that your exam is longer. I really hope that time won't be a problem. Me go for the attendance so we can begin. Saraya Acevedo.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Cristian Albarracín.
Here, teacher.
Andres Alvarez. Tell me in the chat, please. There you are. Thank you. Joelia Ayala.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Andrea Vaca.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Gilbert Cárdenas.
I'm here, teacher.
Okay. John Carrero. John is not here for the moment. Brian Cordero.
Hello, teacher.
Hello. Stephanie Córdoba. Not here for the moment. Silvia Duran.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Freddy Fonseca.
Here.
Okay, Freddy. Judy Tiscano.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Diana Lisette Lozada.
Hi, teacher, I'm here.
Okay. Daniela Lozada. Not here for the moment. Andrea Juliana Muñoz.
Here, teacher.
Okay. Natalie Joana Pérez. Not here. Mayra Pinzón.
Present, teacher.
Okay. Mayra Plata. Mayra is not here. Harold David Rodriguez.
Yes, teacher, I'm here, sorry.
Okay. Okay, Mayra Plata, you are here. Okay. No problem. Harold David. Not here. Angelica Stephanie.
Hi, teacher.
Hi, Angelica. Yeah, I was going to say, I think I saw her. There you are. Daniela Fernanda Sierra.
Hi, teacher.
Hi. Ana María Velasco.
Hi, teacher.
There you are. And Jennifer Jimena Vera.
Here, teacher.
Okay, well, already saw some names. I'm sorry, I clicked on like accept, but I forgot just to make sure. I think I saw Stephanie.
Yes, teacher. I'm
Stephanie
here.
Cordova, right? Okay.
Yes.
And Daniela Lozada, right?
Yes, teacher, I'm here.
Okay, very good. That would be it. So let me clarify for the moment, the ones that are out here are John, Natalie Perez, and Harold Rodriguez, right? Okay, very good. Let's start. Well, guys, officially, we are going to finish our cycle. We just have like 3 days, almost 2.5, to be honest, related to content because, well, on the first part of the session, number 8, you will be working on the project that is like the final version before the presentation that will be in B1.5, which will be technically our cycle, but that will be another story. In this unit 4, we are talking about your mind. Let me zoom in a little bit so we can have a look at the different topics that we will be studying on this unit 4. In terms of grammar, we are talking about use and non-use of the passive voice, passive forms with have and get. Technically, during our session, we will be talking about, once again, the grammatical component. Tonight, we will refresh our memory a little bit, talking about passive voice, and then we will talk about this specific form using have and get tomorrow. In terms of vocabulary, we will be talking about mental skills, the mind, personal characteristics. The task would be choose people to go on a space mission, and then the work culture would be nature or nurture. That is going to be the idea on this unit. Let me see the chat. Okay. I saw 2 people. I have to adjust the attendance. John and Natalie. Let me write that down while I ask you to do one of the activities that we will be doing tonight. Well, guys, as you see, we are talking about your mind. We're going to start with the first activity that we have on page would be 37. These are the 2 pages that we will be using tonight. And this first part is talking about mental skills. Everybody has, let's say, a different mental skill in terms of the ones that you have, let's say, worked the most, the one that you prefer, the one that you have actually worked a little bit more through your life. I just sent you a link to the chat that is showing this Mentimeter, and probably different to other Mentimeters that we have done. In this case, what you have to do is to rank them. I'm going to read the instruction. It says, look at the mental skills in the box. Which are your strongest? Put them in order. 1 equals strongest, 9 equals the weakest. So in the link that I sent, this is how it appears. For the moment, you see only 1 box. You have to click on it, and then all the, in this case, mental skills are displayed. Remember that you're going to start ranking them being number 1, let's say the best. For example, let's say that for you, the first would be logic. Okay. Then a second box appears. In this case, we still have the list, but notice that logic doesn't belong to the list anymore because we already use it on the first box. Let's say that the second one will be organizational skills, and so on and so forth. When you have organized all your skills, you click on submit, and then we will see the ranking changing here. And let's see how similar or different your answers are. Guys, is it clear how to use or how to organize the mental skills in the ranking?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, Angelica, thank you. Well, guys, I'm gonna give you a couple of minutes, probably for you to decide which ones you use the most. And then we're going to see how similar or different your answers are. 2 minutes starting now. There are already 18 answers out of 22. I think that we don't have repeated names tonight. Mhm. We still have some seconds left for the 4 people who haven't sent their answers, and then we check. Okay, guys, time's up. Let's see. So for the moment, based on your opinion, your perspective, let's use the ranking. Being number 1, your logic, mental skill would be the winner. Well, more than the winner, the strongest. That was like the idea of instruction. Okay, there was a change. The second one would be problem solving skill. And of course, you know that this is just an average. The third place would go to creativity and imagination. And if we look at the bottom of the list, we have musical ability. Okay, well, let's see eventually if this ranking actually could show the development or how strong these skills are, or maybe we actually have strongest skills different in terms of the ranking that we have in here. Well, guys, probably compared to other sessions, this is what we're going to do. We're going to start actually with our breakout room activity. As you already noticed, in our book on our unit 4, we have a quiz in here. We have 7 questions on that quiz. The question is actually, well, talking about different types of skills. What you're going to do, guys, in the group is that you're going to read the quiz and you're going to answer the questions. Groups will be, let's say, made up by 3 students. If there are probably 4, well, actually in this case, it wouldn't be possible because I'm gonna make sure that it's groups of 3 or maybe in some cases even in pairs. Or maybe you can add a box in case that it is necessary because it seems that some people are like struggling with connection. What you're going to do is you answer the questions. Don't forget to write your names. And then as a group here, this is not going to be individually. As a group, they're going to classify each question on the type of mental skill they belong to. So let's say that you read question number 1, you answer what you consider the answer is, and then as a group, after analyzing it, you are going to decide the mental skill that it belongs to, okay? That is going to be the idea of this activity. Guys, do you have any questions?
No, teacher.
Okay. Remember, guys, that you all need to have a look at the quiz on the book. Of course, that's our point of reference. And to fill in the information that you have here, well, in the document, of course, the shared document, to put the answers in. Let me make sure that everybody can share the screen. Let me create the groups, make an adjustment that I don't have repeated names in different groups. Mhm. Give me a second. Okay, I think I already managed, also keeping in mind that some of you have problems with your microphone. I think I made it. Good. Well, guys, as usual, you are going to be working on the slide that belongs to the group that you are in. Of course, that's the intention. I think that you have already taken part of it. Very good. You can still edit. Guys, for this activity, reading the quiz, answering the questions, placing the questions in the chart, and deciding the type of mental skill, you're going to have 20 minutes. It's a lot of time, but that can be a little bit tricky. So make sure that you can manage time properly. Of course, probably you can set up a timer as well. And then when we come back, we are going to socialize your answers. Okay? Questions, guys?
No, teacher.
Perfect. Let's start.
Hi, teacher. Sorry, I lost my connection. No, teacher, I don't remember.
Let me see the slides.
Okay.
You were in group number 2. I'm gonna send you back.
Thank you, teacher.
Welcome. Okay, Gilbert, I'm gonna send you. There you go. Well, guys, welcome back. I think that up to this point, all of you are here. Well, I was checking some of your answers. I know that some of you haven't finished. Of course, some questions required extra effort. And that was the idea of the exercise. Just like to wrap up very quickly. We're not going to have a look at the answers yet. I know that you haven't finished at some parts. Well, group number 3, you forgot to put the type of mental skill you think they are related to. Okay, this is what we're going to do, guys. Of course, you continue having a look at your slide, but on the next activity in our book, we have a listening part. I'm going to read the instruction for you. If you are wondering in which part the listening part is, it would be exercise 3, 4.1. Let me adjust this. It says, listen to the answers as an analysis of the quiz. The question says, where do you write about the purpose of the questions? We're going to listen to some of the answers, okay? We're going to see how similar those answers were compared to the ones that you wrote here. Probably you were also discussing with your classmates how similar or different your procedure was to find the answer of each question. And of course, the second part that you have to complete in your box related to the type of mental skill they are related to. Let's see how similar or different your answers are. Guys, we're going to compare basically your answers with the information that we have here on the book. We're going to listen twice as usual, but in case that you consider that we need to listen a third time, don't be shy and let me know, okay? Guys, do you have any question?
No, teacher.
Okay, great. Let's listen.
Unit 4, Recording 1. 1.
The answer is 80. In each case, you subtract an odd number to the previous number. First 1, then 3, then 5, then 7, then 9. The question is designed to test logic and, to some extent, mathematical skills, although the mathematical skills required are not very great.
2. This question, of course, tests memory, and the average number of items that people remember is 8. The best way to remember a list like this is if you group similar items together. For example, here you could group together all the items that you need to buy at the supermarket. Although memory is not directly linked to intelligence, it is a very useful function, and it can be improved significantly by using memory techniques like grouping. 3.
The answer is 30. This question tests visual and spatial skills, since the shape has to be rotated in the mind's eye in order to count the sides. These are the kind of skills needed by architects, for example, but many people who are very intelligent in other ways cannot do this kind of activity, and such skills cannot easily be taught.
4. This question is designed to test emotional intelligence, and if you choose any of the answers given, then you are wrong. According to experts, you should discuss the situation with the child and help her to think of solutions to the problem herself. And the children certainly shouldn't be bribed with biscuits, as this will not provide a long-term solution to the problem. 5.
This question is designed to test creativity and imagination. There are no correct answers as such, but on average, people think of 11 uses for a newspaper in 2 minutes. The most common ones are to read, to start a fire with, and to cover the floor while painting. But some people come up with very unusual ideas. One person suggested that the newspaper could be used to wrap up a baby, and another suggested using it to write blackmail letters.
6. This question tests problem-solving skills and logic. So, did you get the answer? First, you take the goat across, leaving the wolf and the cabbage. Then you go back and take the wolf across. Then you go back again, taking the goat with you. After this, you take the cabbage across, leaving the goat on the side where you started. Then you go back again, leaving the wolf with the cabbage. Finally, you take the goat across again. 7.
Strangely, the answer to this question is that whatever you choose is the correct answer. It has been shown in a number of studies that if you think you are very creative, then you are very creative. And if you think you aren't creative, then you're not. They say that the strongest power we possess is self-belief, and perhaps this study is the ultimate proof.
Let's listen again, guys. Remember that you're comparing the answers that you got and the type of mental skill they were testing.
Unit 4, Recording 1. 1.
The answer is 80. In each case, you subtract an odd number to the previous number. First 1, then 3, then 5, then 7, then 9. The question is designed to test logic and, to some extent, mathematical skills, although the mathematical skills required are not very great.
2.
This question, of course, tests memory, and the average number of items that people remember is 8. The best way to remember a list like this is if you group similar items together. For example, here you could group together all the items that you need to buy at the supermarket. Although memory is not directly linked to intelligence, it is a very useful function, and it can be improved significantly by using memory techniques like grouping.
3.
The answer is 30. This question tests visual and spatial skills, since the shape has to be rotated in the mind's eye in order to count the sides. These are the kind of skills needed by architects, for example, but many people who are very intelligent in other ways cannot do this kind of activity, and such skills cannot easily be taught.
4.
This question is designed to test emotional intelligence, and if you choose any of the answers given, then you are wrong. According to experts, you should discuss the situation with the child and help her to think of solutions to the problem herself. And the children certainly shouldn't be bribed with biscuits, as this will not provide a long-term solution to the problem.
5.
This question is designed to test creativity and imagination. There are no correct answers as such, but on average, people think of 11 uses for a newspaper in 2 minutes. The most common ones are to read, to start a fire with, and to cover the floor while painting. But some people come up with very unusual ideas. One person suggested that the newspaper could be used to wrap up a baby, and another suggested using it to write blackmail letters.
6.
This question tests problem-solving skills and logic. So, did you get the answer? First, you take the goat across, leaving the wolf and the cabbage. Then you go back and take the wolf across. Then you go back again, taking the goat with you. After this, you take the cabbage across, leaving the goat on the side where you started. Then you go back again, leaving the wolf with the cabbage. Finally, you take the goat across again.
7.
Strangely, the answer to this question is that whatever you choose is the correct answer. It has been shown in a number of studies that if you think you are very creative, then you are very creative. And if you think you aren't creative, then you're not. They say that the strongest power we possess is self-belief, and perhaps this study is the ultimate proof.
Okay, guys, we have already listened to all the answers, of course, with some extra information and explaining most of the situations, the type of mental skill that was evaluated. Let's say, well, not evaluated, that actually it was tested. How similar your answers were. Let's have a look at the first group. We have Diana, Joely, and John. Diana, you have 80 in your case. In the second questions, how many did you get? Sorry.
In my case, 8 things. 8? Yes.
Okay.
8 or 7, I think. And Joely have 6.
Okay. And do you
Things.
remember, according to the listening, which is the
Yes.
average?
Maybe the things that we found in the supermarket. And I don't remember, but we maybe a group, or I think that grouped the things that we found there. It's easier to remember that.
Very good. And according to the, let's say the review, the average number is around 8.
Yes, 8 things.
Okay, very good. Next group, pretty much similar. Well, the third you had 30. Let's have a look at number 4. What was, let's say, the extra information that they gave in number 4, Anna?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat?
Yeah, in the report where they were talking about the correct answers, which is the correct answer in number 4?
I think he said that other, any of these was a good answer.
Very good. It said that any of the choices there was wrong, that the idea was to say other. Well, in your case, you actually chose from the list. You didn't propose other. Let me see. CA sometimes explain. Brian, you raise your hand. Yes. Did you propose a different one?
Yes, teacher.
What did you propose in that case?
And for the question number 4,
Yes.
the 4 option, the D.
Let me go back to the quiz. What?
We think that if we promise a biscuit from the children, it could be an option to get together and all the children can play and get funny as a group, and there are no divisions.
Okay. Yeah, actually they said that although promising the biscuit seems like a good idea, it is a temporary solution. That is why they propose that it should be a different one. Well, actually I see E. Sorry, in the case of Judith, right? Actually, you
Yes,
proposed
teacher.
something different. Yeah, I didn't see. My eyes as usual are tired. What is your solution?
Explain to children the importance of sharing and playing each other.
Playing with each other.
Okay.
Very good. Of course, it is not like we had to think exactly the same solution that it was presented on the review, but one of the possibilities talking about well, other, they said discuss the situation with the child, and it's pretty much very close to what you had already stated. Let me go back so I don't miss a possible answer. Angelica says maybe play with her. Okay, but even more related to have, let's say, a discussion, you know, not just like to let the situation pass. Let's have a look at number 5. The number of uses for the newspaper. Let me go back. I had already asked here in number 4. Daniela, here in group number 5, how many users did you get? And how many users were, let's say, presented in the review?
I write 9 if I don't wrong. And Eudio said that usually in 2 minutes we put 11 useful word.
Yeah, like useful thing, not just like crazy things. Guys, do any one of you wrote 11 uses for the newspaper? So you can raise your hand and we can see at your list. In the moment we're having a look at the list of group number 5, we have Daniela's, of course, Christian's and Andres's. Nobody. In your case, Daniela, 9. Do we have someone with 10 maybe? 10 uses? Let's check. In this case, okay. That would be it. What about number 6? Probably number 6 was one of the ones that required a lot of attention, I dare to say. I would like to have a look. Well, in this case, just Mayra says, I don't know, as simple as possible. Let's have a look here at slide number 7. It was similar to the answer that it was provided, Sylvia.
Yes, teacher. Maybe a little more shorter, but the same answer.
Pretty much the same, because the idea was first the goat, leaving the wolf across with the cabbage and go back with the wolf, then you go back again, taking the goat in this case, then you take the cabbage across, leaving the goat where you started, then you go back again, leaving the wolf with the cabbage, and finally with the goat across again. That was a little bit complicated. Probably, well, I know that it was complicated because of the amount of time that we had, not because it was difficult for you, right? And then we have question number 7, talking about how creative you are. Probably, as you already could imagine, there was not an incorrect answer. But do you remember, let's say, the reason that they give for that question, Gilbert? Number 7.
Sorry, teacher.
Yeah, we're having a look at the final question, number 7. And well, of course, everybody has a different perspective. And the woman explaining number 7 says that at the end of the day, any choice is correct. Do you remember why she says that?
No, teacher, sorry, I don't remember.
Okay, Gilbert, don't worry. Let's see. Well, already asked Sylvia and Stephanie. Mayra, do you remember why?
What?
Number 7. Well, just in case I'm in group number 4, Mayra Pinson. But you know, Mayra, I think that you have a problem with the sound, actually.
Like,
Muy regulimbis, Mayra, to be honest. No, Mayra, sorry. Yeah, it is like being a problem with the connection, I guess. Frey, what do you think while Mayra adjusts her sound?
I mean, I don't remember the reason.
Okay.
about how creative someone is.
Well, maybe the problem is how I'm asking the question and I'm confusing you guys. Maybe.
He or she, I don't remember, say something about self-belief.
Okay.
If you chose create, is because you are a create person,
Creative.
creative person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes on that line. I saw that someone raised their hand, but then I was going to have a look at the name, but you decided like to hide the hand. Let's
Teacher,
put it like that. Yes.
teacher, I think that she says that if you answer that you are very creative, in
Mhm.
fact, you are very creative. But if
Mhm.
you choose only that you are creative, then you are not too much creative.
Mhm.
Something like that. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, that was like what I was like looking for. That you can choose whatever you want and it is going to be correct because you are actually providing your very honest opinion, as you already said. And she finishes talking about like the most powerful kind of energy is self-belief. If you consider that you are way too creative, like in the case of architects, okay, then you are and you believe it. And of course you, let's say, manage to show it. Let's see the chat. Mayra says, okay. Sorry. Gilbert says, okay, that was something from from like an hour ago. Okay, sorry. Well, I guess that someone sent a message, but erased it. Okay, guys, perfect. Well, just to wrap up, let's have a look at the type of mental skill that was tested on all the questions. In the case of number one, it was logic, and she also says that had a part of mental skills. In the case of number two, it was about memory. Number three, visual spatial intelligence. Number four, emotional intelligence. Five, creativity and imagination. Number six, problem solving skills and also logic. He states that as well. And finally, of course, creativity and imagination. Okay, guys, very good. That was the idea of the exercise. I'm sure that you helped each other while you were answering the questions and also that you had the opportunity probably to test the different skills that you had as well. Let me go back to the book. And well, guys, as you already noticed when we were having a look at the beginning of the session, let me zoom out a little bit. Probably some of you didn't listen. When we start the unit, most of the cases we see that there is a grammatical component. Today, one of the, let's say, grammatical components that we're going to review, I'm trying to zoom in now, okay, is talking about the use of passive voice. Probably different from other, let's say, linguistic moments of the session. Usually I present the grammatical information. After that, you practice, right? But based on the situation that you actually already know about passive voice, first, you're going to do the exercise, and then we're going to check the information. Because once again, what we're doing in this moment is just refreshing our memory about this topic. I'm going to read the instruction for you. It says complete the sentences from the listening with the active or passive form of the verb in brackets. So we already listened twice. Of course, I know that you don't remember every single word by heart, but you already got the idea of the different questions. And that is why we were kind of analyzing every single questions, hopefully to remember as much information as possible. Of course, notice that we have some spaces. Be careful with the instruction. In some cases, we are talking about active voice. In some cases, could be passive voice. Guys, once again, I am not going to give you any, let's say, grammatical information yet. For the moment, the idea that you complete it with what you already know. Let's say that we are kind of activating prior knowledge. What is the context? Well, we have already listened. And of course, what we have already discussed. Okay. Guys, do you have any questions about this instruction? Questions?
No, teacher. Teacher.
Very good. Well, guys, let me see the chat first. Andres is not teacher, very good. Guys, because we have 9 statements, probably in some cases you need to check spelling or maybe the past participle of some verbs because they are passive voice, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna give you 8 minutes, okay? And then we will check our answers. In this case, we're going to do, let's say the activity individually. I am not going to send you to breakout rooms. Let's start with this first exercise. 8 minutes starting now. Well, guys, time's up. We're going to listen to check our answers, okay? That is the next part of the exercise. Then after we listen, of course, we're going to have a look at what you actually wrote. I'm pretty sure that is like the same. And then we will review different aspects related to passive voice. That remember, we're just refreshing our memory about it. Let me share sound. We're gonna listen only twice. In this case, it's a kind of dictation. Sorry, I'm already sharing sound. Very. So let's listen and we check.
Unit 4, Recording 2. 1.
This question is designed to test logic and mathematical skills, but the mathematical skills that are required are not very great.
2. The average number of items that people remembered was 8. 3. The best way to remember is if you group all the similar items together.
4.
The shape has to be rotated in the mind's eye.
5.
Visual skills cannot easily be taught.
6.
According to experts, you should discuss the situation with the child.
7.
Children certainly should not be bribed with biscuits.
8.
It has been shown in studies that if you think you are very creative, then you are very creative.
9.
They say that the strongest power we possess is self-belief.
Let's listen again. Well, if you consider that it is too fast, maybe a third time it is possible. Once again, if you let me know.
Unit 4, Recording 2. 1.
This question is designed to test logic and mathematical skills, but the mathematical skills that are required are not very great.
2. The average number of items that people remembered was 8. 3. The best way to remember is if you group all the similar items together.
4.
The shape has to be rotated in the mind's eye.
5.
Visual skills cannot easily be taught.
6.
According to experts, you should discuss the situation with the child.
7.
Children certainly should not be bribed with biscuits.
8.
It has been shown in studies that if you think you are very creative, then you are very creative.
9.
They say that the strongest power we possess is self-belief.
Okay. Did you listen to all the answers, guys?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, great. We're going to have a look at the answer key. I think I can click on this. No, I want you to see the completed statements. Let me put it,
Unit
don't worry.
4,
We already listened to it. It isn't. Okay. Let's have a look at number 1, 2, and 3. While you compare, I'm gonna give you a few seconds. I think I can. I wanted to move it, but I thought I could, but I couldn't. No, that's life, I guess. Let's see or no. Similar, different. We still have missing number 9, number 8, and number 9. Any changes? Were your answers similar, guys? Or at some point you had like any different, let's say, combination, you know?
Yes, teacher.
Which one?
The last one I thought that would be past. They say with.
Okay, like they said.
Teacher,
But in
in
this
7,
case,
I had children private, but not this B. And I'm not sure grammatically for what reason we put B.
okay. Well, actually, in number 7, the idea was to, let me move the box. I don't want to put it away or something. I hate this black thing that Zoom has. Let me close it. Notice that in number 7, you had to use should as well, not only bribe. And that B was precisely
Unit 4.
One of the things that we are reviewing tonight, which is related to passive voice.
Okay, yes.
Because that one was passive, then that is why we had to include B. And in the case of number 9, well, you know, it is not that problematic because depending on the context, but the important thing was that what you chose was active voice, which is actually the, let's say, the important issue tonight. Any other, guys, that you want to check? Okay, very good. Well, in very general aspects, as we were stating, the idea of using passive voice was, let's say, easy to use. Let me go back to the presentation and we can refresh very key components that passive voice has. First of all, talking about, let's say, the grammatical combinations, you know, for any grammatical structure that we have in English, let's call them like the regular ones, we have the passive voice version. So we have in present simple, present continuous, present perfect, past simple, past continuous, past perfect, even with future, with infinitive forms, with ing, even with modals, precisely using the example that you were asking, like why that be included with should. We have passive voice for whatever tense you have in mind. If we have a look here at the column related to passive voice, notice that although, and of course, we're talking about different tenses and they are related to different situations, all of them have something in common, right? First of all, talking about the verb to be, depending on the tense is the required combination. We have is in the case of present. We have been when we're talking about the perfect tenses. We have was if we are talking about past simple. Of course, another perfect tense would be had been. In the case of future, we have to use will, but it doesn't matter. The passive voice that we are talking about, verb to be is mandatory. Without verb to be, there isn't passive voice. And then the second component that is also a little bit, let's say, obvious, I dare to say, is that the main verb is in past participle. The other day, we were refreshing our memory about the use of these verbs, you know, and of course, this is one of the key components when we're creating passive voice. Let's say that in active voices, the regular way we tend to make sentences, while in passive voice, we have to keep on using these two very, let's say, basic elements of the structure. Verb to be, being careful on the proper combination, and the verb in past participle. Once again, we are just here like refreshing something that you already know. What is the idea of active voice? What is passive voice? And the different functions that they have. When we're talking about active voice, sorry, as I was telling you, it is like probably the regular way we make sentences. And this is one of the most common examples that is being used when we're talking about passive voice. We can say the dog chases the ball. It's pretty clear that we have the typical, let's say, organization. We have the subject, we have the verb, and we have the complement. It's pretty clear that the first part of the statement, the dog, is the important one, right? While in the case of passive voice, who is doing the action is not that relevant. Now the focus is going to be let's say who's receiving the action. And in this case, now the statement in passive voice, it says that the ball is being chased by the dog. We have to make sure, guys, that there is alignment when we're making the transformation from active to passive. Why am I talking about alignment? Notice that in here, the statement was in present simple. The dog chases the ball. So now that I'm making the transformation into a passive voice, I need to keep it in present, just for the sake of the example, you know, for you like to have that in mind. Because if the original sentence is in past, well, we would be using passive voice in past. Of course, these two voices are way too common in English. We can't say that active is better than passive or vice versa, of course. That depends on what we want to say in the types of writing. For example, if we're talking about giving our opinion, providing our point of view, like we want to make everybody know who is providing that idea, the best way would be to use active voice. For example, students deserve more flexible scheduling options. It's pretty clear that that's the intention and which are the, let's say, important elements, the students. But what happens when we have, let's say, other ideas or when we want to, let's
Teacher,
say,
sorry,
yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
A teacher said to me that okay, that we only use passive voice to write, yes, not to talking or to say things with the voice, yes.
I see your point, Andrea.
Yeah, it's correct. Basically, she said that we use passive voice to scientific articles, maybe, or scientific writings, but not in the common use, and not with the voice, not talking.
Not talking.
I don't know.
Well, Andrea, that has been one of the main discussions, let's say, that have been happening in English, but up to this point, that is a lie, you know. We can use passive voice whenever we need it. That, yes, and let me go to the next slide. Usually, one of the main uses of passive voice, you know, we're talking about, for example, reports, in some cases, even talking about crimes, but it is not the only use. We can use passive voice when we are having a conversation, even in Spanish. We can say, no, se decidió que se va a realizar, pam, 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 pam. And it is not necessarily to be like a very, let's say, elegant and formal context. Once again, yes, it is more common that we find it on reports, on academic writing, on articles, because of course that context requires us to be as formal and technical as possible, but we can use it whenever we want it, Andrea.
Okay, thanks.
Very good.
Thanks.
And precisely, for example, look at the first case that we can use passive voice. It says, in broader statements about widely held opinions or social norms, tipping less than 20% is now considered rude. We are just providing, excuse me, we are just like providing a very basic opinion. Of course, we're talking about a different context. In our case, tipping may have like a different connotation, but this can appear in a conversation. You know, we're talking about how popular or unpopular tipping is based on our customs, and this statement can appear, and it's perfect. And what is the intention in this case? We're talking about widely held opinions, like there are a lot of people who would probably agree on this idea. And when we're talking about this, it is not that necessary to say who agrees or disagrees, right? Look at the second case, that probably is the most common case, talking about passive voice. In the case of crimes, probably if we think of other examples, when we're talking about the news, in the news it's very common to find the use of passive voice, especially when we don't know who the perpetrator is. Let's have a look at this example. It says, my car was stolen yesterday. By using passive voice, we're stating that first of all, I like my car or my object is the important aspect on my story. And second, that I don't really know who the thief was. That would be the case in this type of statements. there are like, let's say different uses, but I'm talking about probably the most common, the scientific context. The rat was placed in a T-shaped maze. That is probably the most common use that we have for passive voice. And in some cases, when the writer or speaker wants to avoid blame. That was one of the examples that I was giving Andrea a few minutes ago. Probably you don't want to say that it was you, or we don't want to say who the person was. And that happens in Spanish more than we have noticed. Like mistakes were made. Se cometieron errores. And when we say that idea, even in Spanish, of course, we know that there are aspects to be fixed, but we are not specifying who the, let's say, owner of the mistake was. And that is something very interesting that passive voice has. You will see that in the work context, actually people use it a lot and then you notice it like, so when we use this, nobody is like there to blame, you know, I can point at someone because mistakes were made. And that is one of the interesting things that passive voice has. Actually, I use it a lot in conversations, just like to wrap up what Andrea was saying. So guys, basically 2 voices that English has, all the combinations that you want to imagine exist in all the tenses with all the modals. Let's not forget the essence that it has, verb to be and the verb in past participle. Careful with the combinations of verb to be. If we want to give, let's say, our opinion and our voice, let's use active voice. There are other cases that we can use passive voice. Probably at the end of the day, if we have a look at the 4 cases that I just presented tonight, we don't really know who is, let's say, in charge of the action. That's the main idea. There's no one to be blamed. Guys, questions?
No, teacher.
Okay, so whenever you want to use it, use it. It looks elegant, of course, but it doesn't mean that you can't use it in a conversation. Well, guys, let's practice a little bit. Let me send you a link. I already have it here. Yes. There you go. Now, there you go. No, I haven't sent anything. In this case, the idea is to organize the statements, okay? We have already done this type of activity before. So, of course, the intention is to move the words in the position that you consider they belong to. So, we can say the alarm was, okay, that's why. Was disconnected. Isn't disconnected by the robber. In this case, it's in past, pretty simple. Next, I'm not going to do the other ones, of course, just this one for the sake of the example. Don't forget that when you click on the link, I hope that I have actually, yes, you write down your name. It is a kind of context. It's a little bit similar to Kahoot, you know, so remember that the fewer movements you make, the more points you get. We are talking about different, let's say, tenses using passive voice. We have present, we have past, present perfect. Let's not forget the essence of the combinations. Guys, please, could you let me know if the link is working properly?
Yes,
Yes, teacher.
Perfect, guys. As you already noticed, there are 11 sentences. Anyway, you have to do the first one as well. I'm going to give you, again, 8 minutes, and then we're going to check the answer key. And if you have any questions, of course, I think that will be the final exercise of the night. I'm going to keep this slide displayed in case that you need to check any combination. 8 minutes starting now. Okay, so I think I'm gonna add an extra minute because there are like 10 seconds left and only 9 of you have sent the answers and it is supposed to be 19 of you. I think that some of you have already left. I guess I will check the attendance in a moment. So all of you can finish, and of course, the idea is to have a look at the answer case. See you suffering with one of the questions in particular. One more minute and we check. Okay, guys, time's up. Let's have a look at the podium because I told you it was a kind of contest. Let me refresh. 14, so we have Christian, Freddy, and Diana Lozada with 9 correct answers. As we can see, number 8 is being like one of the most tricky ones. Let's have a look at the answer key. This would be the answers. Look at the organization of the sentence. I don't know, probably number 8, the position for this part for drug dealing, I think. I don't know what.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, yeah, I think that was the tricky part. Where were you putting it? Like at the beginning, maybe? Or do you remember?
A criminal band has been arrested for selling drugs.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
Selling drug. Ah, okay, yeah. That was a little tricky one, yeah, because dealing drugs sounds like Spanish. Any other?
And in the fight, the victim was stolen on her way to work. I put on her work way. I'm not sure, but I think that is incorrect.
On her work way? Okay. Yeah, well, we have.
I made a mistake. I made a mistake in number 2.
Number 2?
Yeah, I put like the suspected is right now being interviewed.
Okay. Yeah, because I think that happens because in Spanish, we are a little bit more flexible with those. In this case, the proper name would be adverbs. Usually, English tends to be a little bit more restrictive and time goes at the end. But, in communication, probably we're in a conversation. The idea is accepted, because at the end of the day, we could convey meaning. But one of the things that probably repeats a lot is that because we're in an academical context, we will always ask you to use the proper grammatical combination. Eventually, if you're chatting or with friends, we can play a little bit more, So in conclusion, right now, at the end, just in case it appears on the exam. Any other that you would like to check, guys? Okay. Notice that we had different combinations. We had in present, we had in past, and number 6 was present perfect. Number 7 was present continuous. Notice that we have verb to be, the ing, which is the one that is telling us that it was passive voice in present continuous. And well, only those 3 combinations, but with the exercise that we did on the book, we were also talking about modals, and that exists as well. Okay, guys, excellent. Well, as usual, that is all for tonight. Don't forget to have a look at the parameters of the exam. Don't forget to continue working on the activities, because on Thursday, we will have our speaking part. So guys, it's very important that you check the topics that we have studied. The material that I used to get the questions and the situations is from the book. Of course, the book is our point of reference. I take everything from there. So have a look at the activities, check all the exercises that you've been doing with Laura and with me, of course, and you will see that everything comes from that part. Okay, guys, as usual, thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thanks,
teacher.
teacher.
Bye-bye, good night.
Take care, everybody.
Bye, teacher.
Bye, teacher. Have a good night.
You too.